Today, President Biden will hold an event at the White House to commemorate the 50 millionth coronavirus vaccination. This comes as the U.S. moves closer to adding a third coronavirus vaccine to its supply. Yesterday, the FDA declared Johnson & Johnson's single-dose vaccine effective, and it could be granted emergency approval as soon as tomorrow. Dr. Leo Nasola is a physician and immunotherapy scientist. He is here to break it all down for us. So, Doctor, this morning, Vice President Kamala Harris visited a pharmacy in Washington, D.C. that's participating in the administration's federal retail pharmacy program. Now, that program is working to increase access to the COVID-19 vaccine across the nation. How can the administration better tackle vaccine skepticism among communities of color?
Good morning. I'm happy to see Vice President Kamala Harris taking these matters into her own hands. I think we've all been aware that we need to rebuild public trust from the erosion that has occurred in the past 4 years with the erosion on science and medicine. But also, we need to acknowledge the fact that Black communities die at a higher rate from diseases like cancer and child birth as well, way before COVID-19. So policymakers through the course of history have failed to address those issues. So I think the challenge there is to make sure that communities of color that have been affected by this virus at a higher rate, but also have been affected by other diseases, are confident that they are taken seriously and that policymakers will address their concerns and their issues. I think it's important for them to meet people where they are and talk to them in a way that they understand. If you look at developing countries and how those vaccination campaigns work, myself, I've worked in vaccination campaigns in South America. And I will tell you, at times, we would go and knock on people's homes and deliver them not only vaccine information, but also those shot in arms. So perhaps talking to community leaders to connect and engage with those communities and ensure vaccine safety, it's the right call here.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point that you have to meet people where they are. There's a lot of talk about skepticism, but sometimes access is also a big factor when it comes to getting the vaccine. So speaking of the vaccine, this is a different one. We've got some new promising results about the Pfizer vaccine. An English survey found high antibody levels among those who received 2 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. So now we have a single-dose vaccine that is potentially on the horizon, the Johnson & Johnson one. So what factors should be considered when deciding whether or not to go for the single-dose vaccine once that becomes available, or a multi-dose vaccine?
I think there's a lot of good points there. You take any vaccine that is available to you at this point. We need at least 70% of the U.S. population to develop immunity against this virus so we can have some normalcy back. The vaccine study that you just mentioned also showed strong T-cell response, and T-cell protection is critical in sustained immunity. So it's very hopeful news. With a new vaccine coming into market, with hopefully J&J's vaccine receiving the emergency use authorization, we'll be able to start releasing the red tape around this vaccine sooner, because not only it's a single shot, but it's also more accessible for pharmacies to carry it, since it can be kept in the refrigerator for months.
So Dr. Anthony Fauci says new data suggests that people with COVID-19 can continue to suffer from symptoms for up to 9 months after the initial infection. And we've heard that. We've seen that. It's been reported. There are people who've been infected with COVID-19 who talk about continued shortness of breath. They talk about headaches or loss of appetite. What are some of the long-lasting effects of COVID-19 that we know about now? Because presumably, a year from now, hopefully when we're all sort of out of the woods, we're going to continue to learn more about how people are doing in the wake of having been infected.
That's right, Vlad. It's a true public health concern. I think we'll be learning more in the future of how expensive this is going to be for our already broken healthcare system. But also how much is affecting people today. I've reported a case of a colleague who is a physician in Miami and has gotten COVID on his work and he's been affected with this disease for several months. So we still don't understand exactly all the mechanisms that take place into the immune system to allow for the sustained infection and this sustained disease. But I'm hopeful that with these new clinical studies actually addressing the science behind the long hauler syndrome, we'll be able to not only come up with new therapies, but understand a little bit more about why some people respond to this virus in a way that elicits this immune reaction so strongly.
So Moderna announced Wednesday that it's working on a booster shot that targets a coronavirus variant first found in South Africa that may be more resistant to existing vaccines. How would a booster shot work?
Right. So as we spoke about this before, new variants are likely to be around us for several months and perhaps years to come. And COVID will perhaps not reach the point of 0 cases as some have hoped. So those booster shots are likely to be helpful to us in the next coming months. And because of the mRNA technology, drug makers, Pfizer and Moderna, are very confident that this can be done in a short amount of time. And I think now the biggest challenge is scaling that manufacturing capabilities for us to be able to receive those third or booster shots in case we all need it. And perhaps we're not all going to be requiring 3 shots, but it's still unknown for certain what the future is going to hold as far as how many immune shots we will require.
All right, Dr. Nissola, thank you very much.